Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. World Series on, no problem. We have a lot of information to keep you engaged, that's for sure. And I have an incredible crew to go along with it. We're gonna, what's there to talk about? The Yankees are looking to stay alive. We'll be talking about World Series of Yankees topics. To do so, my Hall of Fame crew, Trent Clark. Welcome back, Trent.
Welcome everyone, and thank you, Motor City, for having me. I always love to be here.
Oh, we enjoy having you. And we also enjoy having the barber, Mark Meriday. Welcome back. I know he was ill last week, but he was determined in his text messages to make sure if he could get on tonight, he was going to do it. And the barber is back.
Hey, listen, you guys, I can't hear over the respirator that the Yankees are on. Let me turn this down a little bit.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch. All right, that was good, Mark. Wow. If you're going to come back, you might as well do it in respirator.
Where is Cats? I need Cats on here to give him,
Yeah.
Right. Well, all right, George Eichhorn.
Yeah, I don't like the respirator joke, but it was kind of funny, Mark.
Thank you.
we have Quick Wit, and we have Candy.
Thanks, everybody. It's nice to be here and talking a little World Series with you guys.
Okay, we're going to have a good show. A lot of facts, folks. If you don't go ahead and get all the facts the first time, feel free to subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Watch the show as many times as you want to, because this show will be loaded with information. No, I'm not talking about a loaded potato, which, I love those loaded baked potatoes. This one's going to be loaded with information. What were you saying, Mark?
I said, do you have bacon bits on yours?
Oh, I like bacon bits.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Yeah. You got to go with the real thing, though, man. You just got to chop up like hard.
Yeah.
Forget the bacon bits. Real thing, man.
Cook them in the air fryer? You ever cook them?
Yeah, give me bacon bits. Give me the sour cream. Give me the cheese. Josh Shador, what's going on? Slappers. All right, Troy Gary. I'll tell you what. Troy Gary's one of my bugs.
Man,
and he is at Yankee Stadium cover tonight. Let me tell you something about Troy Gary. Had the opportunity to meet him at the NFL draft. Took a photo with him. This guy, to me, goes out there and gets around, and I'm looking forward to one of these days to get Troy Gary on the show. So, Troy, you know what? Be prepared, pal. I'm going to bring you on the show or on any of the shows, and I look forward to having you and the rest of our people on the Sideline Sports Inscriber Magazine chat, which I'm involved. These guys are a lot of fun to go ahead and see their comments, and I participate when I get a chance. Oh, we got a good chat room. Got the World Series, no problem. We got an active chat room. Seriously, really beautiful stuff. All right, and of course, Joshua Dorer has the Panthers 2-0 covering the game from the couch. All right, what's another way to do it? Of course, we'll be talking hockey on Thursday when I don't care if it's Halloween or not. Your trick will be Halloween, and your treat will be Rod Peterson and I on Fire Up Florida. All right, with that said, let's start going to the information, okay, because this is the first full season since 2013 that the top seeds are playing in the World Series. And that isn't Paraday Trent Clark. I don't know what is.
Yeah, this is it's about time. You don't have, the hot hand isn't there. It takes a little bit more longevity. It takes a little bit more persistence now. Big shout out to Gary, man. I think that dude was in LA yesterday watching his Vikings get smacked. Sorry about that, bro. Actually, Thursday night. I think he was in LA because he's a Viking faithful. Tough week for the Vikes with 2 losses last week, but I'm sure they'll bounce back.
Let me tell you, Troy Gary to me, you talk about the ultimate sports media guy. Troy Gary is it. He gets around. He's got a good show going on there, and I had the chance to meet him, and of course we interact at that chat room. It's unbelievable some of the things that we involve. So we're glad to go out there and have Troy. Troy, like I said, I see you're paying attention through Facebook, pal. Be prepared to come on a show. I'm going to send you a private message. We're going to make it happen on one of these shows. I definitely want you on and looking forward to seeing you at various events. All right, with that said, Mark Meriday, here's the deal.
Okay.
You know what it is, the topic. Comment on it.
Hit me with it again. You guys got sidetracked. Am I talking about Troy Gary?
No, you could. But first full season since 2013, the top seeds are playing in the World Series.
I got 300 million reasons why both of them should be there. I don't have anything else to say. I think it's I'm sorry, guys. I think it sucks as a modest Pittsburgh Pirate fan. It's tough to watch all these teams spend all this cash because they can pay the luxury tax Although I do enjoy seeing the high caliber of baseball, I will tell you that much. It's so fun to watch teams that can play the game and play it right and make minimal errors. Hey, not hitting the ball is one thing, but striking out 15 times a game, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So, no, to me, it's exciting to watch baseball in October. It really is. But I have a hard time with the salary cap and how some of these teams get there. So I'll just leave it at that.
Lack thereof. Okay. George?
Well, I don't mind this at all. I mean, you can't go and say that these teams make it every year. Now, the Dodgers, of course, have made it several times. But the fact is, like Scott stated, it's been 11 years since the top 2 seeds made it. So I have no problems at all. I'm very excited about this season's ALCS and NLCS winners, the pennant winners, if you will, and the Yankees and the Dodgers. And yes, I know they have huge payrolls, but we don't see this every year. We don't. I mean, look how many years it's taken the Yankees to get back. So here we are. I like it. I enjoy it. Let it roll.
All right, Katie, I'm going to let you roll.
Well, I'm going to roll with that one and say good for both of them. I mean, it's hard to believe that it's been that many years that the top 2 seeds haven't made it. But that just goes to show you that it's not necessarily the best record, but the team that gets hot at the end and near the end can roll with it. But you also have to have depth that you can overcome injuries, because we've seen injuries play a part too. And some teams, typically the teams that don't have as high of a payroll, might not quite get there. But good for them. I mean, neither one of them are my team, but good for both of them. I mean, it's good for baseball, so yes, Mr. Trent.
I would say, just to kind of wrap on this, but I think it's nice that you get what you pay for. Everyone always says, hey, you get what you pay for. They paid for it. A lot of years that hasn't happened. As a former strength coach in this league, injuries matter. A couple key injuries and you're real average, real fast. It doesn't matter how much money you got in. And I think this is where some of those clubs that are above average got all their players in place. They're hitting on all cylinders. Like Candy says, they're hot, but they're playing with their full 9, and they got some depth in 12, 15 deep, and they got some key players that can come in and fill. And all of a sudden, if you lose a couple key players, you're real average really fast in this league. And no matter how big that payroll, which I think explains some of the 11 years, coaches have been under fire for years on this. Right. You were given $225 million of payroll, you better win. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you as a coach, because it can't be the product on the field. The issue and challenge becomes, no matter how good of a coach you are, if this team is not in synergy, if there is not alignment and there is not team health, you are real average, really fast in this league. And you've got to combine some things there.
Okay, Mark, what do you got?
And you go back to the depth. Both of those teams, and I will say this about those teams, both of those teams do an outstanding job of developing their players that they draft. They have a really good scouting department. They draft really well, and they push those guys through. And even when they make big trades to get big-name guys, they still have guys waiting in the wings that are going to come up and produce 9 times out of 10 for them. So even though my comment was about the salary cap, I will say as far as those 2 organizations go, they do things right.
Well, let me tell you this, okay? Great point, Mark. So I'm going to go ahead and elaborate on that just a little bit. Once upon a time, I've covered the Florida State League back in the 80s, from 1982 to 86. I covered the Fort Lauderdale Yankees and the Tampa Tarpons, who were then the Reds. But I used to see a lot of games between the Fort Lauderdale Yankees and the Vero Beach Dodgers. That's what I did. And, I'm going to tell you something. If you look at how many different prospects have gone up, well, I'll tell you what, it's unbelievable. By the way, update on the score: Freddie Freeman went deep with a 2-run homer. Dodgers now find themselves a 2-0 lead. We're going to be updating the score all night, folks. So
who picked the Dodgers?
Well, okay, all right. Well, give me that next week, okay? All right, I don't want to hear it this week.
All right, that's fair. That's fair, Motor City. That is fair.
You do that next week. But when I say, where did he hit it? Deep. Well, of course, deep would have been better, but my longtime colleague Andy Lascano, who used to go ahead and work down at Channel 7 in Miami, coined that phrase. I thought, well, why not? I'm watching the game and I'm doing the show at the same time. It don't get any better than that. So 2-0 Dodgers will give you updates throughout. And I'm sure we'll have predictions as this thing progresses. All right. With that said, okay, this is the first time since 1956 that the AL and NL home run leaders are playing each other. Shohei Ohtani clocked 54 home runs versus Aaron Judge 58. Progress report to this point. Well, I said 2-0, but Candy Ebling in a moment is going to give us Aaron Judge's stats. So, all right, we'll go back to Trent. What are your thoughts about the fact that you had the 2 home run leaders squaring off?
I think it's awesome, right? I mean, this is what everybody wants, right? This is the 2 guys. The concern for right now is I think it reminds me back in the pro scouting days and the amateur scouting days. You come to see the big guns, but you discover a bunch of really good players, right? And people that are doing the little things really well. Aaron Judge is not firing on all cylinders. You can see him pulling off the ball. It doesn't look great right now. His swing is not comfortable. He's not staying in on it. Ohtani gets hurt sliding into second. There's concerns now on his arm on how he's going to swing the bat tonight. He's been swinging the bat pretty well the whole series for his playoff run so far. So, when you get the 2 best, all eyes are on them. But what I've discovered is while that's great, all the great baseball is happening across the board at depth. Fabulous at bats from first 1 to 9, and so this is a baseball purist like heaven right here, watching good baseball.
All right, Mark.
I'm down with the pitching more than I'm down with the hitting. To be honest with you, there's some deep pitching in this World Series. There's guys in the bullpen that would be starters 1 or 2 on a lot of other teams, and that's pretty neat to see to me. Yeah, like you said, Judge has been kind of an enigma for this team at this point. Ohtani, he's still hitting the ball. I mean, I like going back to manufactured runs myself. And I think whatever it takes to win the World Series, that's where you should be going. Today's baseball, if you're hitting 250, but you club 35 home runs, 40 home runs, you're the man. I liked it better when they were hitting 300 and there were a lot of guys moving around the bases and they were manufacturing in a lot of different ways. So yeah, it's the butts in the seat that count, though, and the home runs put them there.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, George.
You stole my thunder, Barber. Home runs sell tickets, home runs sell ratings, home runs sell baseball. So Ohtani, 225 career home runs, as opposed to Judge, 315 career home runs. This has been a disappointment so far, obviously, but I think it's a great, great topic to bring up because the home run hitting is just tremendous with these 2 guys and others, of course, on their team. You have a lot of home run hitters in this series. The problem has been, and we'll talk about it more probably later, but, Judge just hasn't produced. So here we go. I mean, I love it. I love it again, because like I said, baseball is made around the home run a lot of times. And certainly the fans, even mostly the casual fans that they are trying to attract back in the World Series and in the ratings, Fox and MLB. So, yeah, go for it, man. These are the 2 biggest guns out there as far as home runs go.
We'll turn over to Candy. I have some interesting comments in the chat room I want to get, but I want to make sure Candy gets her 2 cents on this first.
So baseball, for the average or casual fan, loves the home run ball, loves the Aaron Judge, loves the Shohei Ohtani, is not the fan of the Luis Arias, who hits how many hits, Mark, like to your point, and is on base and running the bases like he is. They want the long ball, but I'm with you, Mark. I don't prefer a pitcher's duel. I like a hitter's duel, but not the long ball. I like to see men on base. I like to see running. I like to see no base running errors as well, though.
Well, the only thing I'll add to this is Mark's right. I mean, let me tell you, if you get a 285, 290 hitter with a big slugger, you're talking about $20, $30 million a year in today's market. Really.
Hi, Jay.
So, all right, let's go back. But before I continue, though, I do want to put this comment up. Okay, anybody's free to answer it. D. Lowe's question for the group. When was the last time you hit the batting cage? I don't know what he means by hit the batting cage, but anybody can step up and answer this one.
I was in it last week, but I'm just throwing BP to the kids, man. I mean, I'm not hitting anymore except to model what they've got to do. So I'm taking about probably 8 strokes for an hour and throwing about 290 pitches.
That's good. That's good enough. I'll take it. Okay, and then all right. Well, I like this one because this guy's interesting, and I like his words. The 108 stitches during the World Series. Are you crazy? You better believe I am. Blows. I'll be crazy until I have my concrete nap. So don't worry about it. But meanwhile, you chimed in, so I got to be even crazier than that.
I hit in the cages this summer with my son. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you swing him?
Okay, I guess. I don't know. I don't have the same bat speed that I had 35 years ago, but I still was getting around and smashing it a little bit.
Let's have a little fun with Blows, though. You know, he says, I am covering the game. Yeah, for my college. My goodness. Now, like I always say, Blows, this guy is about the most interesting cat that I've ever seen. If I'm giving him the name cat, am I really giving him a compliment because they're smart, or do I want to put dog? Just kidding with you, Blows. It's all well and good, but we're crazy. And I even purchased the domain name. Didn't I put crazyman.com? Candy never use it for investment reasons because I like to invest in domain names. All right, baseball is made around the beanball. Yeah, you know what? So, you know, it is what it is. So I can tell you, people like to go out there and pitch and type. Bob Gibson was as good as anybody doing it. So being Scott has a blue hat, I can tell he is going for the Dodgers. Well, yeah, I don't know about that, but that's an interesting point, Blow. See, these chat rooms do get interesting. So I gotta give these guys their due. I mean, they're sacrificing a lot tonight. If they're going to go out there and come on this show, you have to read their comments. We're asking a lot out of these guys. But back to the point there in terms of Judge, always like to see a lot of home runs. Candy already mentioned it to begin with, that, you know, everybody likes the long ball is more successful. But I wish there were more Luis Arises in the game. The one year we had a chance to see him down in Miami, he was a treat to watch, that's for sure. So with that said, I'm only going to mention a fact here, and that's this. And you guys can chime in, and Candy goes to a station break. Texas hosted the last 5 World Series. Last 5. Here you go. 2019, Houston. 2020, Arlington. 2021, Houston. 2022, Houston. 2023, Arlington. Not bad. Trent, some thoughts?
The question on is, come back to me. I don't understand the question.
No, it's a fact. It's a fact that the state of Texas has hosted the last 5 World Series.
Wow. That's hard to believe.
Yeah. Huh?
That's hard to believe.
I know. That's why I put it in here, because it is hard to believe.
Yeah.
So let me go back to it again. So you have all the information. Okay. 2019, you have Houston. 2020, you have Arlington. Of course, that was COVID. So then you have 2021, you have Houston. 2022, Houston, and 2023, Arlington. You know, I look at that as a full house in poker, but meanwhile, it is hard to believe when you think about one state having a World Series in that state, which is why I pulled it out. So now, with that said, okay.
Was 2020 the old Arlington, or were they already in the new one?
No, the new one.
They were in the new one. Okay. So both of them, both those series were in the new one. Okay. I was gonna say, that's 3 Texas stadiums, like all of a sudden, if you had the old one. I mean, you know, a lot of people, no one thought the Rangers have been anything for a long time. Houston, man, I mean, yeah, like you see the comments, should they count because they cheated? It's a question mark. You know, first of all, pretty good lineup, 1-9. Definitely a dark day to find out later. They had the in on some things. But it shocks me that Texas has had such riches of getting the series. I think that's pretty crazy. And it's fun. It's great to see it get out of there, by the way. It's great to see it go to the coast. It's great to see it go to the big media markets. I think that generates a whole nother level of excitement that I enjoy.
Anything you want to add, Mark?
I just wasn't interested in watching Houston play. Okay, we won't let guys in the Baseball Hall of Fame, even though their numbers are astronomical and they deserve at least a smidgen of it. Of notoriety, but yet we'll let Houston retain their title without any any asterisk beside that. Like, I think that's insane. I will never root for that team again after what they did there. Everybody in the organization knew it. But that is pretty cool that Texas has had it 5 straight years. I like the Rangers. I like what the Rangers did last year. I was rooting for them. I think they're a good organization. Anybody that has Nolan Ryan as part of their organization has got to be great. So,
George.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting that you brought that up. I mean, Texas has been very, very good team over the past several years. I mean, and of course the Astros with Tiger manager AJ Hinch, part of that whole cheating thing. They certainly have done it. And the reason I like them, obviously, because I'm a big Justin Verlander fan. So when Verlander went to the Astros, I mean, Detroit people watched. Detroit people wanted him to win. And lo and behold, then they get the manager who was disgraced after sitting out a 1-year suspension. But I agree. I agree with you, Mark. I mean, they should have had some sort of asterisk. There should be something there. Yeah, the guys lost their jobs, but then they were hired like a year later. And, it just doesn't seem fair enough as far as the punishment goes. And a lot of fans, you included, Mark, are never going to forgive MLB for just kind of turning their head the other way to a certain extent. But yeah, Scott, I mean, obviously Texas is a big, big baseball state. You go back over the years, and even with college ball, and of course, the professional teams, as you mentioned, the Rangers and the Astros. But it's a very, very rich state as far as baseball goes, and they've shown it.
Candy.
I was surprised that 5 years straight in Houston, and that's not necessarily a place you would think of. You would think like the Yankees 5 or the Dodgers, the big spenders, 5 years in a row. But to the state of Texas, I was surprised. Houston, do I root for them? No. Am I really a Rangers fan though either? No. But kudos to the state, because that brought in revenue, and so kudos to all the people that work for their organizations, and not the top echelon, the gatekeepers, the ticket takers, the ushers, the vendors. Good for, because those are the ones that really, they make a little bit more money, which is good. So
let me go back to a comment that Jay went ahead and made. Houston shouldn't count. They cheated. That's a World Series, but in terms of just hosting the series itself in Texas, that's really where we're at. Everybody has feelings on that, and I can appreciate where Jay and everybody else is coming. Jay also has a question for you, Trent. What is your worst World Series ever?
It's Scott, the Motor City Mad Mouth's favorite. 1997 extra innings game 7 when the Tribe went down to the mighty Marlins on a little base hit in the bottom of the 11th or 12th or something. And that was a big one. Had a win, and we snatched defeat from the jaws of victory there down in Florida on game 7. Late in that game, they pushed that across with a Tony Fernandez error, and then all of a sudden, there was some questionable. You always go back. Hindsight's 20/20, man. Like, we had some interesting things happen that game. Probably most people don't know. Probably a bunch of things that happened in that game, but Motor City, that was a big win for the Marlins, man. It was an exciting time. A way better team than people gave them credit for, but certainly the Indians were a strong favorite that year, and we certainly thought we had it in hand. And plus, it was one of these things that everyone's going like, man, this is a terrible series. We were down in like Florida, 75 degrees, came back to Cleveland, and it snowed 2 of the 3 games. And then you went back to Florida into 75 and gorgeous weather. I mean, it was a sweet little series of craziness, and you had to persevere and challenge through some stuff, man. I remember walking off the field in game 3 BP when it came back up to Cleveland, because Tomey's hitting bombs in BP at us, shagging balls, and you couldn't see it because the snow was coming down so hard. You couldn't see the ball. So you were just like targets out in the outfield. Like, guys are just mashing balls. So I took it to the clubhouse, man.
Yeah, I like what Jay says. He says, "What, I'm 20 years younger with National." Yeah. Well, you're probably right, but my body doesn't feel that way. By the way, that 97 team was managed by Jim Leland. So a lot of people know Detroit lore that Jim Leland was a dynamite guy, and I think that Mark Merriday knows that Jim Leland did a good job with the Pirates as well. So, all right, with that said, let's go. Go ahead.
I got a quick trivia question.
Go ahead.
Who's the second baseman for the Tribe who sat out Game 7, not feeling well, where Tony Fernandez had to play?
Baerga. No.
Nope.
Sandy Alomar.
Sandy Almar's a catcher, man. Come on.
Well, that's Sandy Alomar.
Oh, his brother, Robbie? Nope, they didn't have Robbie yet.
Right. Okay. That's what I was thinking. There you go. Well, you got me on that one.
I'm going to leave it for the chat. See if anybody comes with it.
Okay.
Don't Google it, you cheaters. Don't Google it.
Yeah,
right, Candy? Right, Candy? Tell them.
Harold Reynolds.
Nope. Good guess.
All right, so Jay gonna ask a question. Then we're gonna let's go to Candy station break because some of these are pretty good. So, all right, go ahead, do the station break real quick.
So wait, I was gonna answer a question here. Yes, Delos, Scott did write a book, and yes, George did write the foreword, and the book. The name or title of the book is Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. The foreword is by George Eichhorn. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple and Google Books. And we are working on the audio version as well. We'll let you know more when that is available. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can get the book. You can go to our store and get any of our South Florida Tribune merchandise. There's also the writings of Scott and George and pictures that I take. So go check out our website. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can get our podcast wherever you find the one. Monday nights is baseball. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you never know what we're going to talk about, except Thursday nights we also talk hockey. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Candy. All right, let's go back to Jay. Will baseball incorporate a hard salary cap to even out the teams, more like a basketball or football salary? I'll answer this one real quickly, okay? Don't hold your breath. Not happening. The MLB Players Union is way too strong to let anything go. But that's what I think. Anybody else want to answer this one?
I don't think it's going to happen either. I agree with you, Scott.
Yeah.
No.
What about you, Trent?
No, they're never going to do this because who controls the league?
Big money teams.
Right.
Big money teams control the league. It's like the, remember when in the NFL, like everyone had to do something and then the Dallas Cowboys did something different? Like, come on, man. Like, big money controls everything.
True. Mark?
As far as I'm concerned, there's no cap that's ever to go into play there just because, like I said, it's the big money teams that control it all. And as long as those guys say, no, we're not doing that, the little guys are like, okay. They just I feel like they just kind of back down to them. The only thing I would like, if it's going to be that way, fellas, I would love to see them split the league into two tiers to make it competitive for the teams that don't spend the money, or have a spending floor. If you don't want to have a hard cap, have a spending floor. So teams need to get to there. The difference between the Pirates this year and the Yankees and the Dodgers, the Yankees and Dodgers, $306 million payrolls or whatever it is. The Pirates, $105 million.
Mark, you're dead on with that. Spending floor I can see happening, but don't hold your breath about the other stuff. I mean, the Major League Baseball union is too strong. And again, when these teams over the luxury tax, they're still paying these small market teams out some money anyways. What they choose to do with it and how they use to invest with it, that's another story. Some of these teams aren't even using that money at all for players. That's a problem that you have here. So as a result, what are you going to do? Candy, any thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I mean, as much as I don't like it because I root for, a small market team, and they will always be a small market team. It's the big boys with the big bucks that are going to control it. And to be honest with you, that's the way it is in America. I mean, it is in business, and we forget MLB, just like NFL and NBA, they're all a business. We forget that. We think of it as from the fan standpoint of view. Oh, it's a sport. We like to watch it, but it's a business, and the almighty dollar is gonna rule.
Yeah, no question about it. It really will. But hey, that's a great question. I really like when we get questions like that.
Relegation. Right, so let's do that. Let's relegate the bottom teams. That will force the spending floor to go up. The town cannot afford to lose the Yankee fans, the fans that are all coming every time when their team plays. You know, all of a sudden, and I think it'd be awesome to see Charlotte, Indianapolis. You know, these teams get all of a sudden franchises. It'd be game changer. I'd love relegation.
Well, you know, one thing we're going to do in the future during the offseason, we're going to talk about Major League Baseball expansion. I'm really intrigued at what this crew is going to be able to talk about it, but that's something I'm thinking about. We're riding the World Series a little bit. The score does remain 2-0. Candy, do you have any updates, by the way, on Aaron Judge's statistics in the World Series enough to point? Because I know a lot of people are wondering about those numbers. So and don't forget Giancarlo Stanton either.
So before tonight's game, he was 1 for 9 in the series, but it's his 6 strikeouts that were more. As of tonight, he is 0 for 1 with another strikeout. So add it. So he's 7 strikeouts in 10 at bats. It's in his mind. It's in his mind. He's batting 150. What most people, if you've never played the game, it's mental. A lot of it is mental. And until he gets that past that, and he's got so much, let's put it this way. This is his first World Series. He's got so much pressure on him because everybody thinks he's the big star. He's the home run, king. He's never been here before. This is all new to him. And the other thing people don't realize is how much better pitching is in the World Series. Because let's face it, they might only pitch 1 or 2 innings. They're not necessarily expected to go all 9. They know going in, I got to pitch as hard as I can and be as good as I can for as long as I can. But they up their game too. So we always think about it. Why is the hitter not hitting? Well, maybe it's because the pitcher's better that night. And he's got his game on.
Yeah, I agree. But one of the other things is that the pitchers should be tired too. They've been pitching all season long. Now, both teams got 5 or 6 days off. So maybe Judge just lost the edge that way too, because that's happened before when teams have a lot of games off, a lot of days off. But I kind of disagree with you on the pitching dominating because, the tired arms, the Tigers ran into that against Cleveland. They had too many tired arms at the end. So I know what you're saying. There's a lot of good pitching on both squads, but I'm not going to he's not going to get away from this disgraceful performance based on just the other team's pitching. I'm sorry. I don't buy that.
Well, hold on a minute, George. You know why the Tigers had tired arms, don't you?
Yeah.
Why?
They didn't have enough starting pitchers.
Exactly. They had to, when you have to rely on your bullpen like they ended up, the fact that the Tigers even made it to the second round to me is miraculous in the first place. But when you start relying on bullpen days to get you there, that won't make it during 162 games. It will during a short series. Let's just have a day off every now and then. So I breathe you. I mean, Aaron Judge right now is making a lot of money, and the big lights are on in LA and New York. And think about this. One thing we haven't even mentioned yet, I don't know if we'll get around to it, but I'll just bring it up while it's fresh in my head. Juan Soto is a free agent, and the Dodgers have expressed interest in him as a free agent. So can you imagine if the Dodgers open that checkbook and land this guy? I mean, you talk about the no salary cap, holy Toledo. I mean, that's unbelievable.
You can cut me off of 100 stitched baseball because I won't watch baseball if that happens. I won't. I think it'll be absolutely insane.
You're saying if he goes over?
Yeah, 100%. That'd be ridiculous. That'd be absolutely insane. What's their salary? They're going to be over 300, 350, 360, 370. How much are they going to be? They're going to be as much as like 7 teams altogether. It's insane if that happens. That's where the problem is.
Are you saying he's better than Kiki Hernandez?
I am. Indeed, I am.
You know, I like what Candy said. Like, you know, when you talk about Judge, first of all, he has not had a good playoff run. He's hitting 180. He's pressing. You can see it. He's flying open. He's trying to turn on the ball. He's not making an adjustment to move in and hit the ball through the middle and the other way. He's a big, strong guy who can hit opposite homers. He's not staying down through it. This is a confidence game. And I have seen, I mean, if people recall back, and I think it was the 96 season when we let go Carlos Baerga, like the confidence had left his body. He'd broken 42 bats before June 1st. And it was like, hey, man, everyone's going in on him and he can't catch up with a fastball. Everybody knew it. So they're throwing in and breaking his bat. It's a confidence game. So you start cheating, right? You start, you know, you're going to try to get out there quick, and then they're going to pull the string on him, and he's way out in front and he's striking out. Judge does not look comfortable in there, and they can't seem to get him to drive through the ball and go the other way and find that rhythm again. But I think Candy's exactly right. This is a mental deal now, man. And when confidence leaves the body, it's not good. And there's not a way in the world you trade this guy. This guy just had one of the best seasons in the world in baseball. He was fabulous. You know, he's not having a good series. And I don't know, you know, again, he's got to get his years of experience in the playoffs too. He's learning this is a long season. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's hurt. You know, we learned this from the NHL, right? How many guys are playing way less than 100% down the stretch? And we don't know yet, but he doesn't look great.
Well, look at the comment by Jamie. Should we judge? I like that one for his poor judgment on the swing count. I see a lot of judge and judgments in this. But the reality is that's what we have to wonder about too. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, though, you know, you got two loaded lineups here, and you got to pick the guy that you don't want to beat you. They're letting other guys hit other guys are seeing better pitches because of the lineups. And you can't necessarily hang that on Judge. Yes, he's probably gripping the bat a little bit tighter. Yes, it's probably in his head. But they're willing to sacrifice a hit from other guys than they are Judge, because Judge one swing and he ends that, you know. I mean, Stanton had a nice series last time. I don't know. From my perspective, when you have a loaded lineup like that, you got to pick and choose who you don't want to beat you.
All right, Josh Odor, you know, any Panther comments related to Finland? Guess what? Thursday night's a good night from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. I don't care if it's Halloween. I don't care if it's week after. You'll probably get more of what you want then. But I don't like to ignore anybody in the chat room since they are nice enough to contribute in the chat room. I have no problem with that. So with that said, all right, hey, Scott, I don't follow baseball, and I wouldn't even know which way to run around the bases. But what you've done to this show is electric. Thanks a lot, Delos, the kind words. You're really a great guy. We appreciate those positive comments in the chat room. Okay, and let's see what we have here with Josh Odor. I don't even know what the heck you guys are talking about here. I'm just here to support Scotty Mammoth. You know what, Josh Odor? You're A1 in my book. I appreciate you doing that. God bless, pal. Really, to you, your wife, and your child. And Fernando Holiday Vargas Ferre. How many names can you have? What's the over-under? We've got at least 4 anyways. It's hard for some players to adjust different league pitchers, NL batters versus AL pitching, vice versa. You know what, Fernando, that's been going on for years. So, but I'm glad you brought that up. These are the types of comments that are very, very intelligent. And we can name numerous examples, Fernando, of what you're talking about for sure. Onwards we go. 1980.
Scott, I want to say one more thing.
What?
To George's point about pitching being tired, Judge had played in 158 games this year and has batted 559 times at the plate. We're going to judge him now on these last 9 or 10 because he's in the World Series. But what has he done for the whole year? And how tired might he be?
Right. Well, he's a major reason that they are there when you put him and Juan Soto and the rest of that group. And Carlos Stanton proving to be the new Mr. October. He's had an excellent postseason, hasn't he? Or you're nodding your head. Mark.
Well, I'm reading the comment by Jay. There is no DH rule in either league anymore. It's all DH, baby.
Yeah, pitchers don't have to hit anymore.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, good comments all the way around. All right. Let's go back to that. We're going to turn back the clock a little bit for part of this. 1988 Game 1 World Series, Kirk Gibson hits walk-off home run on an injured leg. 2024 World Series Game 1, Freddie Freeman hits a walk-off home run on an injured ankle. And that particular situation, the Dodgers won it in 4 against Oakland. Could we see a repeat of this as well? I know that Candy has gone out there and done a good job with the stats here, but I don't know. Anytime I see these weird Hollywood starts, makes you wonder if it'll happen again. So I'll just say this. If the Dodgers win tonight, this game could be a 4-game sweep. That's all I'm going to say about it. Trent, go ahead.
I'm with you on that. That's exactly what I was going to say. Motor City Mad Mouth. Like, man, if the Dodgers somehow sneak this first one out of New York, I think the wind is out of the sails. Everyone's reeling like, what the hell happened? We didn't want to go 0-3. And here's the other thing I'll say. And, I know a lot of people may disagree with me, but, when you have a $360 million payroll, that does not come with a lot of grit. That comes with a lot of luxury. And, the fight kind of leaves your body when you're getting your butt kicked and this and that. The grinders, you put a Pittsburgh team down 3-0 who's got to scrap for everything they get. Those kids are going to fight. You saw the Tigers fight because that's all they got is fight. They don't have, yachts. They don't have all the stuff that everybody else has got. There's a level of comfort that comes with $20+ million a year. And you start getting ready for the offseason, like, hey, we'll give it a go next year, because sometimes that just looks like an uphill battle. And it is an uphill battle. You got 2 great teams. No one wants to be down 3-0 to either one of these teams, but I think the win just comes out, Scott. I think you're dead on.
Right.
But I'm not saying the Dodgers are going to sneak this one out either. I'm just saying if that happens, it could be a sweep. Get the brooms out.
Well, the key word, Trent, is the word if.
Yep.
IF, quotation marks around it. If they do, then the Yankees are deflated. That's all I'm saying. But, we'll see. We're only in the top of the 3rd right now. Dodgers still remain on top of the Yankees 2-0. We'll keep giving you progress reports as we go on. All right, turn over to the Baba. And Jay, who called this sweep from the start? Well, if you're saying you did, fine. I'll admit that I thought this series would go 7 with the Yankees winning it. And right now I'm looking like I may be eating crow. I don't know what's worse, eating crow or a 4-minute grilled cheese sandwich that I cooked over in when I was a student at USF in a microwave that you could have broken the triple pane window with. I'm telling you, that grilled cheese sandwich could have been equivalent to a hammer. Yeah, that's back in the old college days. But yeah, I'd be eating crow. I called it 7 right now. I certainly am finding you don't want that kind of grilled cheese, man. You'll be at the dentist tomorrow and you'll be out of teeth if you ate it that way. But if you ever need a weapon, we don't have to worry about all the other things there. If you ever want to hurt somebody, cook a grilled cheese sandwich for 4 or 5 minutes in the microwave, and you have a weapon that a lot of these home improvement places wouldn't even think of coming because they're not as insane and crazy as I was. So, all right, Joshua Dora says, am I a Dimitri Young fan? You know what, Joshua? He was a pretty good player. He really was a good player for a while. But I want to turn over to Mark. Good question, though, Josh.
What are you saying about the 4-game sweep? I didn't think it would come out to be like that. But then you look at the Dodgers were challenged by San Diego, and they found their backs against the wall, and that really pushed them forward. I don't know how much the Yankees ever felt challenged. I think once you in a playoff series, no matter what sport you're playing, if you get through a challenging team, at the end of the day, you realize that you either got lucky or you worked your ass off to go forward, excuse my French, and you're going to take advantage of that situation. And I just think that's where the Dodgers are.
Yeah, let's think, but I'm just talking about the glory effect of the whole thing. The irony of, I guess, is what we're looking at, Mark. Kirk Gibson, we all know about that famous home run called by Jack Buck and Vin Scully on 2 separate platforms. And you couldn't have 2 other guys calling that home run that you had with those. But that was just unbelievable. It was only at bat turned out to be the game winner. And all of a sudden, Freddie Freeman on injured ankle, not quite as serious as Gibby had to go through.
Yeah.
But you're still talking about Dodger Stadium and those famous home runs from 2 separate individuals a distance apart. That's the only reason I brought this up in the first place. And it could be an interesting irony in 2024. Well, I guess we'll be able to address this come next Monday night. So
I remember where I was when Gibson hit that home run. Like I remember in '88 exactly where I was. And when I saw that happen again, I was kind of like, wow, deja vu. I feel like I'm 20 again.
Yeah, I've gotten
Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood.
I've actually gotten to know Kirk Gibson well when I've gone back to Detroit at Comerica Park. And I'll tell you what, I'm not afraid to admit this, okay? But with Kirk Gibson dealing with the Parkinson's syndrome and me with recent head injuries because of concussion problems, we hit it off really well. And he was giving me nice, friendly, cordial advice. And I think I've respected a lot more about him because he's become a much more genuine human being is what he's become. And through adversity with Parkinson's, and I make no bones about it, I'm still dealing with my fair share of medical issues. But the thing I have in common with Kirk Gibson is we keep plugging away. And that's what I admire about him. But when you talk about folklore, baseball, and their history, one swing of a bat, and you're in the history books, whether you make a Hall of Fame or not. Doesn't matter what you are. Whether you're not, you go out there, and whether or not you actually see him in the Hall of Fame, that's another bird. But their paraphernalia gets there, even if you don't. All right, turn over to George.
Well, first things first. Jay asked me at 8:44 p.m., George, who is your favorite Tiger fan from a TV series? I think there's only one that I can think of, and obviously Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck obviously has been a Tiger fan for years and years and years, but so is Jeff Daniels. Don't count him out either. The Gibson thing, masterful. Fox did a great job. Great call. Oh, just a wonderful comparison from the Gibson home run to Freeman's home run in game one. Terrific job. Hats off to Fox. And, throughout that whole first game, they did a lot of vignettes. They looked back in history when these two teams met, different parts of different games, different series. Great job by them. I love it. I mean, obviously, Gibson had already moved on from Detroit and became a Dodger. And the sheer excitement, Scott, your friend Tommy Lasorda, running out of that dugout like he was a player, running out there, his hat fell off, and he's going on the sidelines waiting to hug Kurt as he rounded the bases. Oh my God, that was vintage Lasorda. Oh my goodness. You don't see managers do that every day. In fact, rarely do you see that. They pretty much stick to the dugout and, they're happy, but they shake their coach's hands or hug them. But that's great. Not only the Gibson shot, but seeing Tommy run out there hatless was great too.
Tommy Lasorda is an interesting bird. I love Tommy. That's why he's in the book. He was my first original.
Yeah. And as far as the sweep goes, I don't want to see it, but it could happen. It could very well happen. We don't know.
Let's go back to the chat room real quick. Joshua, the baseball that he does have in him is putting it out there. Dimitri was his neighbor growing up. Pretty cool. And of course, he had a house in Parkland. Parkland's one of the nicer areas in South Florida. It really is. Candy, now here, Jay, I like this guy. Candy, I thought you said Scott made you dinner sometimes. If he can't make a grilled cheese sandwich, how'd you ever eat? You know what? We got to address it. It's okay with a little bit of candy stuff in the front. Go ahead, Candy. This is for you.
You might as well answer. Do you cook? Absolutely not.
No, but I can make a grilled cheese.
The only time you have cooked for me is when I was sick and I taught you or told you how to make mac and cheese. Boil the water, I think that's about it as far as your cooking.
Wait a minute. I do get to defend myself on this. Hey, I do know how to cook an omelet, but there's much more than that. I knew how to cook an omelet long before you entered the picture, but let's face the reality. Anybody that comes into my world if they expect me to cook, don't hold your breath. Hey,
so when was the last time you cooked us breakfast?
Well,
that's a trivia question.
Yeah, that's more than a trivia question. I can't even pronounce the word croissant, right? Everybody says it's a different way. So it goes to show you what I really know about the food industry. But let's keep going. This is pretty good stuff. All right, there we go. All right. There you go. Jay knows. That's it. Seriously, really? I'll tell you, Jay knows my thing nowadays. All right, Cassie, you have an opportunity to talk about Hollywood back then. Well, guess what the Dodgers are on the board as? Guess who? Mookie Betts. Let's see. I'm going to go out there. And he goes out there and hits a run-scoring single, bringing home Edmund. So now the Dodgers are up 3-0, which is what this series could be by the end of the night if this keeps up. All right, Candy, go ahead.
So, does anybody know, since we're talking trivia, how many times the World Series was swept? How many World Series went 4-0? Do we know?
No idea.
21 times.
Wow, 21.
21 times in the history. So if it happens again, it would be 22. I'm kind of surprised. I was surprised when I saw how many times.
That seems like a big number, right?
It does. Out of what, 114? That's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I will answer that other question since no one got it. It was Bip Roberts was our second baseman that sat out Game 7 not feeling well.
Let me tell you something. There are a lot of people going to remember Bip Roberts. That's why you stuck it to it that way. Bip Roberts? Seriously? Really? Seriously? Really? You bring him up on this show that's a World Series. You're talking about Bip Roberts. I didn't know what a Bip was until you brought it up. But that's what gets me going tonight. I'm waiting for everybody to find a way to get me going. And now you did it, Clark Barr. Okay? I'm telling you, Bip Roberts. Seriously, really. All right, there you go. I don't deliberately put reallys and seriously out there just to make sure I have a quota to meet. But this was easy. Bip Roberts. If you hashtag this guy, Trent, would anybody know who the heck he was? Is he worth a hashtag?
Former Detroit Tiger for one season too, I believe.
That's right. That's right. He was the Tiger one season.
Yeah.
I think he was every team one season.
Yeah, he played
San Diego.
He doesn't
San
lack
Diego, multiple
seasons
in San Diego.
He doesn't lack frequent flyer miles. All right, Kane, any comparisons between 88 and 2024? Did he mention that, or did I just slip past me?
No, it slipped past you because I really only talked about how many have been swept. So immediately when we were watching the other night and we saw Freeman's home run, I immediately went to that memory because Scott has a playlist of YouTube videos, and on that playlist is that Kirk Gibson home run. So I immediately thought of that. So kudos to Freddie Freeman. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Whether I like the Dodgers or not, it doesn't matter. But, good for him.
He's on fire, by the way. That guy hasn't done anything for the 3 series before, and all of a sudden, he didn't have a home run for 24 games? And then all of a sudden he's got 2 now, given tonight. I will say, though, man, this is baseball, and what I love about it, 26 hours from now, it could be 2-2, and then we'll be right back in it. So I don't think any Yankee fans should panic. We'll see how it plays, but it looks a little concerning right now. But 26 hours later, we'll see.
Okay, Mark.
The home team that wins goes up 2-0 is 77% of the time win the World Series. 2-0 period. If they go up 2-0 period, even if it's on the road, it's 80% of the time. Just read that a little bit ago.
So I've got some hard stats here to throw at your way. Ready? The World Series Game 2 draws 13.8 million viewers, most watched World Series Game 2 since 2018. So 13.8 million people happen to watch that. Any quick comments on that? Wait till I give you the numbers for Game 1. Anything?
Well, I'm surprised they're not even higher, to be honest with you, with all the star power we got with these two teams. But it does indicate that, baseball has struggled their television ratings. Oh, that goes back 10 years now. And so, I mean, it's a great series, and it's a legendary series with all these hitters and the historical aspect of it. That doesn't surprise me that those ratings are high, though, but they could be even higher.
My one knock on that is, college football on Saturday night now, prime time. And so you went into a World Series, and I agree with George. It's surprising the numbers aren't bigger, but you got the game of the week every night, Saturday night. And people look forward to that for college football, and you're competing against that. This is a one-off, but, Michigan State, not a ranked team this 16 years, first time in 16 years, but still, that's a big rivalry. It's a rivalry week. There's a lot of big games going. And, people are loyal to that. before the one series. And you know, if you're in Oklahoma or you're in Michigan, do you really care about the Yankees and Dodgers? You gotta support your house, right? And so I think it's a challenge in that. You know, it's a real battle to be in a World Series in football season now, because that's the new viewership.
Excellent
and
point.
Trent, let's also say that it was the start of NBA season was middle of last week, and NHL. So anybody that's a fan of those leagues were all going, and they probably had games. So that's probably another reason why viewership is down. You could have been at an NBA game. You could have been at an NHL game. You could have been at a college football game or watching the rivalry teams, you know, play. So there's a lot of competition for viewership. And that's, I agree with you, probably why it wasn't as high as we think it maybe should be.
That's a great trivia question. How many weeks does all 4 leagues actually overlap ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's really only one.
Is it 1 week? Is that all it is?
Yeah, we talked about that on my show a while back. It's in October.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well,
this is the one, and that's rough, man.
Well, you know what? I'm Fire Up Florida, and I'll go out there and look into that again. I actually brought that up with my co-host Rod Peterson. We talked about the fact that what they were going to be doing in the coming week. I'll bring it up as a stat for next week, so that way it validates what you're talking about. Anybody else have any comments on that before I turn over to Game 1's numbers?
13 million people. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's New York and LA. That's all.
Right.
Alone.
Right? Yeah, that's it. That's who it was. Everybody else is watching their respective hockey, college football team. You're right.
I think the diehards are watching, but you know, like, yeah, it's shocking that number's not bigger.
I'll just say MLB will be ticked off if this thing goes 6 or 7, which leads me to Game 1. Okay, 15.2 million viewers, the most watched Game 1 World Series since 2017. Mind you, 15.2 million. Now we're graduating from 13.8 to 15.2. You guys know the number? You guys and gal know the number? Go ahead. Floor's yours.
Friday Night Lights, man. Friday Night Lights, high school football, man. Like, people aren't home. I mean, 15.2 seems really light for these two teams, in my opinion.
I agree. Like I stated earlier, I mean, they should be a lot better than this, these ratings. I mean, yeah, they've broken the last 2 years records, but, you know, you had Texas, you had Houston, and teams like that were in there that aren't popular at all, really, besides the state of Texas. So the number should have been much, much higher for this, but you guys nailed it. I mean, there's so much competition out there right now. And college football is king, man, this time of year. Plus, of course, Sundays and the NFL is more than just Sundays, but we know that they're king number 1. College football is king number 2, in my book.
Well, you weren't able to judge the World Series on Sunday yesterday because they didn't play. They're playing during the week. So, but I compete against Monday Night Football. I don't know if the Giants and the Steelers, you could draw from that audience easily. But go ahead, Candy.
What?
You want to What? What do you mean, what?
You live in freaking Florida. How are you going to pull? I'm going to stop. I'll stop.
No. You continue. I can handle it. The Steelers are having an excellent year. Don't tell me the Giants are.
It's a tight game, 6-6 right now.
Oh, wow. I could see hockey scores that were that. Baseball scores that were that.
There's 19 people watching that game.
Seriously? We're talking 6 and 6 in the NFL. That isn't many points. Seriously,
they have a salary cap. Both these teams.
What's hey George, you got the rating on that game? How many millions or is 1 million watching that? Do we have 1 million in Pittsburgh watching that?
Yeah, those numbers just came in. Trent, it was 1.1 million. No, just kidding.
Barb's.
Fan.
Barb's. All the New Yorkers gave up on him, right? They're not watching anymore because they've already written him off. So your Giants fan are about as fair weather as you can get. So they're not watching. So you only got Pittsburgh fans left, and I don't know, man. They're either at the stadium or drinking somewhere. They're watching in volume because they get together and all drink with 25 people watching around one TV. So the numbers don't add up in Pittsburgh either.
That's
like
true.
No one's got cable.
That's true. You got to count the beer sold in that case.
Don't count the rating. Count beer sold.
So go ahead, Candy. Put this comment up by Jay. Do the ratings take into account streaming. I don't know about that one. You guys
So-
want to take a
Yeah,
shot?
that's interesting.
Let
That's a
me
good question.
say this. So viewership peaked at 17.8 million at 11:30 p.m. Eastern through the final half hour of the game per Fox. The game aired across Fox Sports' linear and digital platforms, as well as cable or Fox Deportes and Spanish language giant Univision, which partnered with Fox for the World Series.
P.S. Like, don't we have like 42 billion Japanese watching this game, or does that not count on Fox? Because first of all, wasn't game 2 the Japanese Yakamoto threw? He's the starter, and Ohtani is playing. So what's the rating in Tokyo? Because there's probably literally 40 million watching in Japan.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a
At
different
6 a.m. in the morning.
That's a different situation there in the first place. I don't know if they have Fox. They might have XOF instead of FOX. How do I know? I mean, I don't even know Spanish. How am I going to learn Japanese? Let me tell you a funny story about my foreign language days once upon a time. Okay, here's the thing, and I don't mind making giving some information. You realize that I'm anything but perfect. But when I was in high school back in the day, okay, I couldn't even get through Spanish. I was lucky that I could transfer classes within 3 days. I landed back in woodshop. So what do you think happened? Moved the clock up to 1986, okay? And what do you think happened? University of South Florida is going to implement a foreign language requirement, right? What do you think I do? I pile up the classes and got out by August of 86, so I dodged that foreign language requirement. But yeah, Jay is right. I do speak Detroitish. So for anybody that wants to know about my foreign language skills, they're anything but good. And I'll tell you where it bites me badly, because during COVID-19, when the Marlins had those Zoom calls, that was the only way we could talk to manager Don Mattingly and the rest of them. They had half the questions in Spanish and half of them in English. I can't tell you how many great comments I missed out because I was a one-trick pony with English.
So can I please add to Mr. Trent, or kind of answer Mr. Trent?
Go ahead.
The World Series is averaging 15.15 million viewers in Japan through 2 games, according to Major League Baseball. They're the Tokyo is 16 hours ahead of Los Angeles, meaning the game started around 9 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday morning in Japan. Combined with the United States ratings, the first 2 games have a combined 29.7 million average in the 2 countries. The World Series is averaging 14.55 million in the U.S. as well. That gives you an idea.
Japan
so
is
it's
beating the
outdrawing
United States.
Japan.
Japan's outdrawing us.
Yes.
Yeah, nobody'd be surprised at that. I mean, let me tell you, I mentioned
9 a.m. game, bro. 9 a.m.
Yeah, I lived in the West Coast. Let me tell you, I enjoyed
baseball.
Well, let me tell you this, okay, everybody out there, as well as the crew. Once upon a time, I lived in Phoenix area for a couple of years or so. I enjoyed watching early NFL games. I could do whatever I wanted at night. Nothing wrong with that. As far as the Japanese are concerned, well, hey, listen, why not watch an early morning game? It's not whether or not they're rooting for a particular team at all. It's a matter they're rooting for a particular player. It just so happens to be on the LA Dodgers. So that's a different situation. Yeah. And speaking of the Dodgers, I know you guys didn't address it. I think we mentioned it on the Sports Exchange with Larry Bluestein. But when we talk about 1981, it's just too bad Fernando Valenzuela wasn't here to go ahead and see this particular series. Rest in peace, Fernando. Didn't want to make sure we get out to that. So
for sure.
So, but meanwhile, all right, last thing I want to get to tonight is the average purchase price for this year's World Series. It's up 97% from 2023. We're talking $1,515. Surprise or no surprise, Mr. Clark?
Zero surprise. New York, LA, most expensive markets. I mean, zero surprise here. The winner is the season ticket holder, because the black market on these tickets have got to be outrageous. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I don't know, fund your 401k if you forgot to fund that in advance, because now it's time to reap those tickets and gain it if you can afford to sit home and watch it on your TV, because that's a big deal. P.S. on Phoenix, I'll be there till Wednesday night. So for all you Phoenix listeners, check me out. Ping me if you're going to be. I'm in Phoenix the rest of the week.
Great stuff. Great town. I love Phoenix.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a great town. I actually lived in the suburb of Chandler, but I enjoyed the
Nice.
Phoenix area. Chandler is nice. So, Mark, some thoughts. Also, Jay mentions how many real fans are watching the games versus bandwagon. That's a question we'll always wonder about, isn't it? So, go
Don't
ahead,
those
Mark.
don't those tickets go hand in hand with the salaries of those teams, and why
Yeah.
possibly the ratings of the league is or of the World Series is down? People don't want to buy into it. They want, because you have equality in basketball and in hockey and in football. A lot of people want to see that. Nobody wants to see two teams spend $300 million and get there. I understand all the points about it, but they've also brushed a lot of people away from it, no matter how you cut that. And they certainly aren't going to be the same. The people, the average fan that's going to spend $1,000 to go to a game. No way.
Now back to the chat room. Jay, he says no, Chandler. I live by Gilbert for a bit. I actually lived on the Gilbert Chandler line, Warner and McQueen, Chandler Place apartments, really nice apartments. I enjoyed it. That was the only place I lived when I was there. It was a great place. I couldn't be happier with that. Off to George. What do you think?
Well, yeah, but I'm not so sure that I think Major League Baseball has a hand in these prices as well. I don't think, as far as I know, that the teams are on their own setting these prices per ticket. But like you guys talked about, on the market, black market, whatever markets, of course they're going to be driven up really, really high. That should be no surprise. Like you're saying, Trent, you talk about La La Land and you're talking about the Big Apple. So you're going to have a lot of rich people looking to purchase these tickets in those two towns. And I mean, I certainly understand how it is screwing over the average family, the average fan. And we've talked about this before on this show. Try to take a family of four. Oh my God, you kidding me? To any postseason game in baseball or any sport, but still, these tickets are way too high. No question about it. But they've got huge salaries to pay. Still no excuse.
Turn over to Candy, and I'll have a closing thought on it.
So,
all right, well, you go ahead, Trent. Hold on one second, Candy.
Just a quick one on George. Ticket prices are set before playoffs start. We buy our tickets by series and by stadium of how many games they could face. So everyone posts that price of the seat for each series. It could change per series, but you buy your seats for the series and decide whether you want them. There's no at the gate, once you get there, people have to buy them. And then if your team doesn't make it, they refund you the money of your tickets that didn't go used.
Okay,
all right. Okay, Candy.
I was going to say ticket prices for Los Angeles were around $1,700 according to SeatGeek, and for New York they're slightly higher. They're at $2,300 on average, and the reason being is Yankee Stadium holds fewer fans than LA.
That's right.
So to get what they need to, partly, let's face it, your in-season regular games, that's for your average fan. That's for your families. That's who goes to those games. The games that, like the World Series, let's face it, the Super Bowl, the World Series, those big games, those are by sponsors, companies that are buying tickets for people, and
season ticket holders.
The rich, the season ticket holders, if they can afford it too, and the rich. Let's face it, you see this movie star or that movie star, they'll show off that who's in attendance, who's not. It's not for the casual average fan. They're the ones that are boosting that viewership that we were talking about here in the United States. And it's just the way it is. I mean, I hate to say it, but as times have changed, I can tell you, I was talking with one of my coworkers the other day. Disney just upped their prices. They're getting astronomical too. That's not going to be an easy family of four outing as well. You have to start saving up for these things. They're almost like it's a vacation for some people. That's it. It's, it's an honor to go to some of these things. I can honestly say that I actually went to not a World Series, but an All-Star game. But that again, those are those once in a lifetime for some of us average fan people to go to.
The only thing I'll say to close out this is next year, if you don't have either one or both of these teams, the ticket prices are going down, period. then you're talking about market size. That's at that point in TV audience. What you ended up getting was an albatross here with two incredible TV markets that you have and a lot of star power. You don't have the Dodgers back here. You're losing a lot of the Japanese fans unless you have another Japanese player that happens to be on any of these other teams. So what we're seeing right now is unbelievable. But 1,500, 1,700. I've seen so many different stats on this, but I'll post them up as I get updates. I have no problem with them because the bottom line is whatever stat I get, they're over $1,000 anyways. Well, a couple of weeks ago, for a lot of you, in case you folks realize that was it back in 1941, a World Series cost $1.10, and then for the Yankees and the Royals, it was like $20, and all of a sudden we're in four digits. You know, that goes without saying.
The 2,300 is not face value, though. This is
Right.
this is the conditional price. This is supply demand. That
Right.
is not the face value. So, the 110 or the $1.10 was the face value back in the day. And by the way, those were probably on the black market for $2. So,
Right.
there's always that little factor. But yeah, I think Candy makes a good point. First of all, in New York, a smaller pillbox, like it's going to matter by how many butts you can get in seats, and that's going to change the supply, right? And so the demand
Right.
goes up and price goes up.
Well done. Okay, with that said, Candy, take it over. Take us home.
So, last year, Scott wrote a book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morgenroth, and the foreword is written by George Eichhorn. It talks about Scott's 40 plus years in the media and how it has changed over those 40 years. Just like we were talking tonight about the ticket prices, go check out Scott's book and read out how media has changed over his 40 plus years. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can get this book from our website, the link, or you can go directly to Amazon, Barnes & Noble Kindle, Apple or Google Books. Audiobook to come out later. If you go to our website, you can also buy there's a link to our merchandising store where you can get sweatshirts, t-shirts, South Florida Tribune. Go out and get your sweatshirt today. You can also read articles from Scott, from George, and you can see some of the pictures I've taken. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you never know what we're talking about. We talk about a plethora of different things. But on Thursday nights, we also have Fire Up Florida, which is a hockey show. And then there's a Motor City Mad Mouse show on Wednesday nights on nofilter.net. Twitter at Tribune South. If you ever want to be a guest or you have suggestions, you can always email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. Back to you, Scott.
And Jay, to answer your question, I found somebody at Toastmasters, which I go to this group on Tuesdays from 12 to 1, I think it is, and her name is Ashley. And when I talked about my book coming out and I was looking to go to AI to do it, she said, no, I'd like to do it. I said, really? I said, okay. Well, then we talked about it. We met on Friday. So Candy's working with Ashley to get that set up. Good question. I would rather give it to somebody at a networking event. Trent knows the value of networking, right? If they want to do it, then they'll talk about it and all that. So it's a really nice lady. We'll keep you posted as well. So there you go. She's a really nice lady, and I'm looking forward to the audio book. It's something everybody wants. It's just a matter of finding the right individual that's dedicated to get moving it along as quickly as possible. All right, George, let's let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
All righty. I write for the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner, and my column's there. And also at the end of my column, there's a link to my book I wrote about Detroit sports broadcasting and the history of it. It's a great read. You can also find me at yahoo.com, Eichhorn at yahoo.com. On Twitter, my handle is SandGSports99. Follow me on LinkedIn and get a hold of me on Facebook as well under my name. So good to be part of the baseball show. Always 108 Stitches. Enjoy being part of the Sports Exchange on Wednesday nights as well. And keep up the good work, you guys. Great discussion tonight. Happy to be on the show.
All right, quick comment from Jay. I appreciate the kind words. It's a good book. Buy it, read it, share it. There you go. Put the words on my mouth, but I'd rather come from Jay anyways. All right, Mark, go ahead.
So you can find the original sports podcast with Mark Maraday on Tuesday night streaming live. We drop the show on Thursdays. You can find it at any place you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube. On Tuesday nights, also, our show is live on Roku. We've got a great thing going on. We are doing a live show this Saturday night, so he's got a special time slot on Roku at 6 o'clock as well. We just keep growing, building, and networking, just like you guys said.
Networking is what it's all about. And we'll leave the man with all the rings last. Go ahead, Trent.
Yeah, Trent Clark. You can reach me at trent@leadershipity.com. I'm on all the socials at Trent M. Clark or at Leadershipity. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the good stuff. And my book, Leading Winning Teams, published by Wiley, is out and in all the markets on all the websites, Amazon, BAM, books, Barnes & Noble, and the Audible will come out on November 12th. Super excited about that being released, and can't wait that to get into the market. So super excited. And you can always find me on my podcast, Winners Find a Way, top 2% downloaded podcast with 100,000 downloads a month.
I'm going to tell you one thing I love about the baseball show, the continuity that we have with the people that come on week in and week out. So Eric Katz is obviously watching the Yankees game tonight. So, we'll find out. If he gets swept, he's going to be eating a little bit of crow, and then he'll have to talk about it. So, but meanwhile, I enjoy working with you guys when he's on. It's fun as well. You get a different, younger perspective when he's on. But when you have a good crew, it's easy to keep it rolling week in and week out, because I believe in my mind, you get a lot of different opinions and facts of different individuals that have followed the great American pastime as long as it has. But that said, I want to thank Trent Clark, the Barber, Mark Maraday, George Eichhorn, and Candy Ebling for joining us tonight on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So on behalf of them and all the incredible comments we had in the chat room, I want to thank you for being a part of the show as well. So on behalf of the chat room and my crew, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week on Monday night, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Good night, everybody. Have an awesome week.